Well, let's go to pick some bans for game 2. See if Valance Squadron can switch this up a little bit. Maybe with the RTO ban. Well, they don't have to ban RTO here. They could just first pick it.
They don't have to ban it, but I kind of expect that NRG might be looking to do so.
We'll see. It wouldn't surprise me if they don't. With how, oh, no, never mind. They did. They banned RTO.
If you're not first pick, that's kind of anticipated right now.
So Odin taken away by Valance Squadron. I believe they banned Chronos last game as well. And it's going to be Scarly this time around, so a little bit more threatened by that. They could leave the Chronos up for themselves to first pick if required.
There is the possibility to pick up the Chronos. Chronos is still an incredibly strong mid laner or ADC. I wouldn't be too surprised either way, especially considering that you don't really want to permit NRG to have a Chronos. But still, and that is going to be the direction for Valance.
Definitely flexible too, because we've seen a lot from Funballer play this and Lawbster too. Have we seen many of the mages in the duo lane right now, Taco?
Well, the thing about it is Chronos, Freya, Sol, they're all fairly competent as far as the duo lane is concerned. Okay. I would probably rate Chronos and Freya as the easier to play ones in the duo lane as far as survivability is concerned. Well,
a hell locked in for energy here, and that is flexible as we've seen before. And Melzy played it early on today in the support role. And with what Raff been doing today with the circuit, it wouldn't surprise me to potentially see him go that way, but it can play mid and solo too, potentially.
I like the Sobek pickup, though. That Sickening Strike going to provide a little bit of anti-heal against that Hell. Although once a Hell gets up and running, it can still be really difficult to try and counteract that healing process. But the Camazotz as well should be great for trying to have that burst all in from the pluck off of Sobek.
So it is looking like a Hell support. It feels like a Hell support anyway, just because solo lane Hell, I'm just still not sold on right now.
You never know. I mean, maniaKK did play RDO, and that seemed a little bit more outside of what we've typically expected from him in the warrior heavy role.
Well, back in the day, maniaKK used to run a lot of solo lane healers to an extent too. Not really Hell as much as the Ras and the Aphrodites, but, you know, we'll see. Bans coming through, though. Osiris going to be taken away clearly because of the anti-heal that can come out from that to go with the Sobek, and then Erlang Shen too. The warrior jungles have been a bit of a threat now and again, but Camazotz more than likely going to be that jungle option for Valance here.
And Valance not really wanting to permit emilitoo to have his ideal choices for the Hunters, taking away everybody except Medusa still on the table, still a lot of lane clear potential out of this god, and if she's against that Chronos ADC, enough pressure early on to potentially counteract the Chronos.
Okay. What is the season? What is this split? A Muzen card? Week 1?
I'm not.
Set 1? Set 2?
No. AMC is perfectly reasonable to me because a lot of these games have tended to go longer. And that's the big thing, is that you see these teams opting for more of the late game hyper carries because you have the flexibility to do so when these matches are typically spreading to 40 minutes.
Bellona will be the last pick for energy, which is flexible once more. Could be Hell in solo, could be Bellona in solo here. Bellona can support, Hell can support, so it's still up in the air where energy will go. We'll go to the game now, and we should find out soon. Who are you favouring here?
I actually really like Valance Squadron's draft infinitely better than their last game, only because they have a lot more follow-up potential. Before, they were kind of just lacking who's going to keep committing whenever these members try to make the escape. And
whoa, that's an AMC bit.
That's a Lawbster on the AMC, and I almost cannot believe that I am seeing that, because I would not have anticipated this in a million years, that he is going to look for that. But it can kind of make sense because he's got the bees to mark the Morrigan.
Oh, and on top of that, with that, you can also see that the hives can go over the walls in the mid lane and actually just hold the pit there as well. It should be okay. We'll see how it works out for him, though, because it's a lot of lane pressure early on.
And alongside of that, Camazotz too is going to make it really easy to clear out these waves early on. And so all around, it's just incredibly reasonable for these two members to keep trying to make their way through. And I really do appreciate that these guys are just looking for as much pressure as possible early on.
Okay, we'll see what happens with this going forward now. And now Lawbster's going to go and take the elementals on the right-hand side. Purple buff going to go the way of energy on the left by the looks of it. They're a little bit slow at coming here as they did clear the wave out first of all. But iRaffer playing this Hell support, so everybody playing Hell supports.
There's a lot of Hell supports going on, and the Sun Wukong Cudgel is going to make this inmate pretty strong from Valance Squadron. But that's kind of what you expect when there is so much much clear possibilities from this team early on.
Yeah, big interest to see exactly how this one will play out now. As Faeles on the right-hand side with Ducky combining. Ducky a little bit more aggressive this time around. Went for the Terror game 1. Game 2 is going to be a bit of a different story here as they're going to look and see if they can try and get some different sort of pressure going on this right-hand side instead of having Ducky pinned under the tower the entire time.
And Lawbster, again, looking to push forward with this AMC clear. Having the Oracle Vision secured, though, for NRG, that's pretty important pickup early on. You don't really know what to anticipate from a Camazotz, so to say, especially since Faeles has a lot of early clear pressure,
sure.
So very easy to just maneuver on over to that dual lane side, especially when emilitoo and iRaffer are playing so aggressively in this matchup.
Now, game 1, we saw NRG start off with 4 Bombers masks. In game 2, they're going to go the same way, but Valance is going to join them this time around, realizing that the sustain in the jungle could have been an issue in the early game for why NRG got a bit of a lead at the start and felt quite comfortable.
Typically, you don't want to spread this many Boombas across your team, but in a competitive setting, it manages to work out because you had the communications to be like, hey, I need to heal this time. And so your teammates just automatically know, okay, fall back a little bit more, and you can have that heal provided to your teammates whenever necessary. Plus, there's going to be at least one moment in time where a member is going to be left by themselves, whether it's the ADC, the jungler, the support. Everybody's looking to acquire that farm individually eventually. So that's also where Boombas can really come into play.
And look at these two comps in a little bit more detail here. It's NRG have really drafted a tank and sustain composition more than anything else versus Valance's, which is all in and pure raw damage. Obviously, with having a Camazotz in the jungle and an AMC and a Chronos, plenty of damage potential, but the question is damage better than tankiness now?
My only concern for Valance is that their damage has a little bit of a mid to late game power spike, as opposed to NRG, who can kind of find that stride earlier on between the Hell, between the Ravana, the Bellona, and even Medusa. Like, those are 4 gods that are pretty strong from early to mid and can still carry over well into the late game. But for Valance, you're kind of just relying on hitting the mid-game stride before anything else.
And Lawbster in the mid lane on this AMC. He's going to get a lot of farm here. You can see him top of the net worth as it stands, even more so than the solo laners. Faeles going to trade out a little bit there with maniaKK, but neither of them really panicking. But the problem that you're going to see is Lawbster will climb in levels and gold very quickly, but it does mean that we may see Faeles fall behind unless he gets farm elsewhere.
I think Faeles was actually looking for a slight commit there onto maniaKK, recognizing everything, popping that sprint to get away into safety. And again, Valance just poking their heads into NRG's jungle this time.
Yep.
They want to be the ones making all the aggressive routes.
Yeah, Valance looking for that speed buff, but bad news bears is Adapting's already picked that one up and headed quickly into the jungle to safety. Playing the Ravana this time around, not the Susano, so he's got very good backline engage. He can dive this Chronos or this AMC, but then he's going to get focused on very, very quickly by the amount of damage coming out.
And Funballer just having a little bit of a rough time in this dual lane since iRaffer's still hanging around.
The Bee's in trouble. A lot of trouble as Yammyn comes in, turns into Camazotz. The Aegis is being waited on from Yammyn, which means the swoops, there it is, comes out. Adapting still can walk away from the danger. BigManTingz and Faeles weren't there in time.
That's one of the only downsides to AMC is that sure, he has a lot of damage output, but he's not exactly the most mobile god in the world. Ducky forcing out that ultimate from maniaKK.
Yeah, putting maniaKK on the back foot a bit. And maniaKK's very well known for his Bellona play, how aggressive he can be. Ducky keeping him even, or at least keeping him pushed back and forcing the ultimate out. It's just going to keep maniaKK playing safe for now. You can see he's got a small lead as it stands, just a level difference between the two. But once maniaKK gets that next wave, it should even out.
The tables have turned here for Ducky a little bit, however, as far as the matchup is concerned. Last time he's just playing Terra and getting absolutely abused because Terra's just countered almost entirely by RDO, and now you can almost say the same thing for a Wukong versus Bellona matchup. I mean, he's got ways to interrupt the bludgeon. He can also exactly, and on top of that, he's got his slow and the cudgel. The cudgel for me is really the biggest thing as far as having a ton of poke potential.
It's funny because I've not really casted too much AMC in my whole career of casting Smite. Obviously, AMC's got a really high win rate considering when he does get played. But the one thing you can't see in the minimap very well is where the hives are. We're not going to be able to see those, so just keep an eye out with that because that is extra mobility, that is extra attack speed, and also HP 5 that a Muzen carb is going to get. Plus, obviously, it's utilized by the rest of his abilities to help provide beads and extra damage.
The main thing for Lawbster is that he's going to want to keep those hives lurking, not necessarily in the left and right mid-harpy sections, but slightly lower than them on his side of the map. That way they can't be cleared out super easily by NRG, and he'll still have the movement passive throughout that jungle.
Speed buff not available yet, but BigManTingz still going aggressive. A lot of free damage as he now lurks in the waters, looking to continue that. Bad news is they're going to fall back because the gank potential wasn't available, and NRG in a good enough spot just to hold for now.
For BigManTingz, it seems as though Rapper was just able to get his cleanse up and running to ensure that there was no way for the pluck to really have that much of an impact in that team fight.
Yeah, 6.5 minutes in and just that first blood is all that's gone down. Onto an AMC early on. Does slow him down a little bit. It's actually just evened things up with him and Morrigan. As you can see on the left-hand side, the net worth is relatively even, as are their levels. Speed buff does get invaded, though, and picked up by Valance Squad. Now Yammyn looking to continue the pressure onto Faeles, but it's Faeles that actually just goes all in with the swoops and picks him up. Now maniaKK into the fray, looking to pressure on further, but he's not going to be able to find anything else here. A one nice, easy kill onto Yammyn.
I'm expecting this to kind of keep building up for the Camazotz as well. Faeles is really going to need to make sure that he keeps applying this pressure. And Funballer, speaking of pressure, trying to find the better end here against emilitoo, but getting a little bit too low from this tower. Emil, now he's on the chase, really trying to lock this one down.
Yeah, trying to keep the pressure on, but there's not enough opportunity here for Funballer to go aggressive. He's worried about potentially hell in the jungle, but Faeles is sniffing out blood. He can taste Medusa on the tip of his tongue, but not going to get in range yet with iRaffer just standing around there. That red buff does fall down as Faeles starts to look towards the oracles.
If I'm Camazotz there, I'm still pretty satisfied with being able to secure the red buff on top of everything else. Unfortunate that he wasn't able to find that clean kill onto emilitoo, but Funballer already exerting so much pressure in this matchup.
Yeah, red buff going to go down here. Will it go to Funballer? No, they're going to give it AMC in the mid lane. How do you feel about this, Taco?
I actually really like this mindset because a physical hunter is typically going to output more damage early on than what a magical ADC might. So giving that damage directly to Lawbster early on means that he might be able to help his team secure a kill or two, because damage is the most imperative part for Valance Squadron in the early game stage. If you're going to commit onto iRaffer, this time you want to make sure that he dies.
Yeah, that's true. BigManTingz hanging around just for the experience through that wall in the mid lane for now. Only level 9, but still keeping pace with that hell that iRaffer's playing. And that hell that iRaffer's playing right now, he's gone for the Vanguard option here.
And Vanguard can be a little bit interesting, but I think he's really concerned about the bluestone ticks from the AMC and the Camazotz. There's also Ducky, who's got a bluestone as well. So I actually really like this pickup, considering that there's just so many different abilities that can be procced with that little tick that Vanguard can really help mitigate.
Yeah, back to the walls in mid lane. Go the jungler and mid laner for Valance Squad. As we tune in the right-hand side here, Ducky versus maniaKK continuing on. As you'd expect, no one's realistically going to die here, but we've seen how dominant some Wukong can really be in this matchup.
Ducky is going to be favored a little bit more as well with that Gladiator Shield pickup in comparison to the Bellona. His abilities are a little bit more spam-worthy, and we're getting
the rotation. The rotation around the corner. Faeles is looking for the long-range Screech, but he just missed it. If that would have connected, I think they may have looked to dive maniaKK there.
It would have been really risky to try and commit there, though, because Adapting is hanging around this right-hand side of the jungle, looking to make sure that he can lock down his speed buff.
Yeah, that's true. The speed buff is about to spawn again. Not flashing just yet, but 3 members strong. And Big Man with the blink pull on iRaffer. And the hell is in trouble. She's going to hell, that's for sure. Faeles cleans up the kill, and the speed buff spawns.
Last game, iRaffer was blinking in and doing whatever the hell he wanted. This time around, it's a completely different story.
He's getting blinked on, and hell's going where he doesn't want to.
Exactly. And
there we go.
I mean, that's what Valance need to do, though, against a hell. You cannot permit this healer to be even. As weird as that sounds. It's a little bit of a pun on words, but in all seriousness, hell is one of those healers where anytime a healer composition is even, they are able to maintain their team as far as survivability is concerned. Hell also has that cleanse, which can be incredibly impactful against the Sobek's initiation. And the movement in general can really help as far as escapes from Camazotz are concerned. So if you just keep taking him out of the fight consistently, he's never going to have an option to build up the momentum that he needs to survive when he needs to.
I'm so scared of playing Smite this next week. Already this week, tonight's going to be terrible playing Smite, because you're going to see AMC's mid lane, Hell supports, RTO solo lanes. I mean, it's crazy.
Just wait for the Anubis.
Circuit support, that's what I'm waiting for. Circuit support versus Hell support.
Oh, somebody's going to do it and say, well, iRaffer did it, so why can't I?
That's true. AMC, though, in the mid lane, going for Devour's Gauntlets this time round, too. emilitoo going to take a trade with Funballer, not recognizing Faeles was right behind him. Now emilitoo's in a lot of trouble here. The rotation of energy's on its way, but it's going to be too late already. Another kill going the way of Faeles, and Funballer going to get a bit of a lap as taunt back to let emilitoo know, you know what? You'll taunt me, I'll taunt you.
Well, those are the kind of taunts that happen, especially when your team is the one that's ganking and helping you out. They're even worse to die to.
Valance Squad looking very good at the start of this, so all 3 kills going to Faeles. He's dictating the pace on this Camazotz, and that's something you want him to be able to do. As a Camazotz in the early game, you get that pressure on, it can really continue to allow your carries, such as the MC and Chronos, just to continue farming safely.
Valance, they still cannot get comfortable knowing that NRG has that hell in their draft, and the Morrigan as well. I mean, a Ravana and a Morrigan are more than enough to turn any situation around. Can't really count out maniaKK running in either. And
I guess that's the question though, is like, are Valance on a squad because of the amount of sustain and tankiness that NRG are going to have? Or are they okay because they've got an AMC and Chronos going into the late game?
Well, ideally, I just want to see Valance start putting these brawlers on lines as well as the pestilences. They really need some form of anti-heal to start coming through pretty soon, because even though iRaffer isn't opting for that mage damage build that you can kind of expect to see out of a Hell, in the support role, it's all too easy for him to just rush healer items that'll benefit his team.
Well, the Jules on the right-hand side started to swing maniaKK's way for a moment here, just because of lane pressure more than anything else. Still a level lead for Ducky as it stands, however, so he's not too worried now as he's going to try and head back to base. Ducky didn't get cancelled out there, but thought he was, and you can see he's actually gone for the Ankh, the Ankh to actually reduce healing, something we don't see too often.
What I want to see is an early upgrade onto that Ankh to where it starts to affect the mana pool, because I believe it's 20% increased mana cost on abilities, which can really mess up a Hell in a team fight who's just trying to spam her cooldowns since they are so low. I believe it's 8 seconds on the first ability, 12 on the third.
I love this play from Valance Squadron here. Free Gulp here in the left-hand side, completely going to go the way of Valance Squadron. NRG didn't even know what was going on, but that's the state of the game right now. Valance are in control, and NRG kind of just sitting back and having to hold on.
Well, they know that that Gold Fury has gone down with that sound cue, but keeping all of that in mind, Portal Demon is still on the table. NRG could potentially be looking to pressure that out next. Could be incredibly difficult, though, and a Funballer with that early Book of the Dead rush. This item is incredibly interesting to me because it makes you feel as though you're almost unkillable on gods such as Freya and Chronos, but it's just so expensive. Sure,
but I mean, it's a shield that's going to absorb a little bit more damage for yourself, allow you to buy an extra second hair's time to maybe get the rewind off, because normally if adapting jumps on your face as a Chronos, by the time you try and rewind, you're almost dead anyway, you might not even survive.
It's just the fact that Funballer was able to rush this item without much punishment.
Sure.
That is what gets me. But when you look at NRG, they don't have as many opportunities this time around to try and completely commit to a god. Unless Yammyn decides to turn into a Camazotz, it's still really difficult for adapting to really chase after someone.
Starting to see more and more of these carries pick up a little bit more survivability there. You saw the cameraman hover over the next item there. Muzen Cobb's working on Lawbster here. Has Devour's Gauntlet stacking, but it looks like more than likely a Hide of the Urchin again, I'm guessing, in the mid lane. These mid laners love it. Talking about loving it, Blink's going to go off on BigManTingz as he looks to pull in emilitoo. But emilitoo with the fast fingers there, and the beads will save him for now. Beads for Blink, not a bad situational trade for Valance.
And that buff as well going in Valance's favor, which means that emilitoo's not going to have that farm available, and neither will adapting. BigManTingz, that's one of those situations where if you find it, then awesome, because you've got 3 other members of your team to follow up with you. But forcing out emilitoo's beats is definitely still a win in my book.
Yeah, it does help out a little bit. Just keep emilitoo on the back foot, especially against Funballer too. Like, he's playing a Chronos, so if you can get that stun off, it's guaranteed time stop damage on top of that. But, or at least force the Aegis and just keep them off separate cooldowns, which is always very useful.
It's even more difficult for these dash hunters to try and get away from that Chronos third ability. And all things considered, Funballer with the CDR boots, not typically the most favorite pickup for Chronos players, but it can definitely work out in your favor.
Very happy with Faeles' play this game, though, Taco, because those 3 kills early on have just set the pace for his team. They've allowed them, like I said, to breathe at the start of this game and get this Book of the Dead online, get this Devourance Gauntlets online for his carries, and Ducky's just been able to continue doing work on the right-hand side.
In game number 1 for Valance, I don't feel as though Ducky and Faeles were necessarily doing anything wrong, as much as it was their picks just prevented them from having any sort of impact that their team would have originally been looking for. But now that they have the Wukong and the Camazotz, you can really just see how these players are able to flourish on the more aggro playstyle, and that's kind of just what I want to see Valance stick to a little bit more. Just be the initiating factors, because you're going to be able to find the kill more than likely.
I look at it this time around, Adaptin has picked up 1 kill so far, that early kill onto a Muzen car, but since then, not really been as involved as he was last game on the Susano. He's not been the one getting the kills, getting the aggression off, being involved in a lot. He's been mainly focused on the farming, which is still behind Faeles, because Faeles get a couple of kills.
And BigManTingz also pretty much adopted Lawbster in that mid lane. He's just been following him around the entire time, really trying to make sure that he keeps his mid lane carry alive.
Stealing Ron Jobbert's lines now,
I had to.
Already. maniaKK rotating around to check out the portal demon here that Valance Squad had started. Fails in the front line as the bat, not really too worried here, and leaps over the bludgeon damage. maniaKK eats more than he was bargaining for, pulled into danger here, and gonna need the Eagle's Rally to potentially escape, but trying to hold on to it and will do so. Faeles has to take to the sky, though, as emilitoo got a nice bit of damage off there with the massive ultimate from Petrify. Lawbster trying to help out on to Faeles to get Adaptin away, and Adaptin's now on the run from Funballer and Lawbster, but an Eagle's Rally from maniaKK, and these big old ages from Lawbster will keep him alive, trading with maniaKK, and maniaKK's almost going to fall down here, and he will do so. No, Lawbster ended up dying there. 4-2. What are these fights?
It was the Gladiator shield, the little bit of a heal, as well as the heal from Bellona's third ability. That lifesteal just coming up so massive for maniaKK. But Lawbster was still able to find that kill because of the bees onto adapting. And so not a complete loss for Valance, especially since they still have another carry alive to try and contest this portal demon with.
Well, Funballer has no ultimate, neither does Faeles right now, but they tried to pull the portal demon a second time. Response from NRG was good enough just to show face and show enough pressure, and iRaffer's just sticking to maniaKK here, trying to sustain him back towards a higher health pool to allow him to continue to stick around this portal demon in case Valance Squadron look for it again.
I don't think that Valance really want to overextend their welcome. They know that NRG is ready to respond to the portal demon, and so the best direction for them to go is look for the little bit of farm surrounding the portal, and if they have another window open, then they'll look for it. I'm not sure they'll be able to find it, though.
Adapts and emilitoo looking to try and bring down these oracles here, but BigManTingz does a good job of disrupting that, making it go 1-for-1. Very important there to make sure there's no free vision on that left-hand side, but ward placement down from NRG means they do still control that Gold Fury pit.
Both of the sprints popped on either side, though, is really what permitted the disengage to come through. As soon as NRG were starting to turn that fight in the slightest, Valance immediately dipped, and that's probably the most important part to me and the main reason why that fight was able to work out as well as it did.
Thought Yammyn was doing the portal demon on his own there for a second or two, but he's just clearing out a couple more wards there. Tower structure damage, you can see right hand side, Valance's tier 1 is slowly being chipped down at by maniaKK, and the mid lane here for NRG is below half health thanks to the work of all the pressure the Lawbster's putting on with this AMC.
But check out that player damage from Ducky.
Yep.
I mean, last game practically non-existent. That's just what happens when you're Terra. And now that he gets a Wukong and a warrior that he can actually go toe-to-toe with maniaKK on, he's just been having all too much fun spamming those abilities.
Surprised by how low Lawbster's player damage is, just because he can get a lot of free poke from range off, but he's having to play so far back.
I wouldn't expect to see too much out of Lawbster until later on. I'm not going to say the same about Funballer on the Chronos, because Chronos has a little bit more viability as far as pushing forward and then peeling for himself. Lawbster can't really do the same. If he's not behind BigManTingz or even Faeles, it's going to be all too easy for NRG, especially if somebody like Adapting, to lock him down.
3 moons of energy in the left-hand side here. Start to try and pressure this down. Looking for a potential pick on Funballer or a bait onto somebody. It's going to be BigManTingz that finds us out first of all, but pressure's already relieved and Funballer will be fine for now. Although Valance looking towards his Gold Fury.
It's already down to half health. If NRG want to go in and contest, now's the time to go, but it might not even matter. They've already been able to secure it for Valance, and everybody's just going to get out for free.
Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Yammyn going to get some damage off into Lawbster, and Forster Beads takes to the sky, disguised as a Camazotz here. here, but so does Faeles at the same time. Funballer, though, feeling himself against Yammyn, and Yammyn's in trouble. Big lot of damage onto him, and the rewind from Funballer very early on. The sustain from iRaffer will not keep Yammyn in the fight much longer. Tingz hunting round the back for this Morrigan. There's no ward just there yet, but the minions will show him in lane, and Tingz won't be able to continue the chase, but he can smell blood.
He's got his personal bodyguard adapting, but the invis, just enough mobility with that stealth to get away from the blink off the Sobek.
But look at that energy, trying to turn this around and trying to even it up and at least get something for losing that Gold Fury. Instead, Valance just focused on the right-hand side. emilitoo and maniaKK were looking towards the Portal Demon, but Valance were already there in droves as well to push them back. And the Portal Demon is being chipped away at here by the AMC and the Camazotz once more.
Funballer has really been popping off on this Chronos, and beautiful zoning by BigManTingz and Ducky.
Yep.
Just not preventing anybody from NRG to breach through that front line. Portal Demon going the way of Valance, and now this is huge because this is the start of the Fire Giant dance.
And the funny thing is that Valance haven't really gone for team fights here. They've actually just gone for objective focus, and like we said, with 3 big damage dealers, jungle, mid, and Hunter role, you're going to see them be able to burst these objectives down very, very quick. That's why you see 2 Gold Furies and 1 Portal Demon on their side.
They still have very viable secure from Funballer on this Chronos. Typically, you don't want to try and 50-50 the objectives if you don't have a mage. But knowing that Funballer is going to have the damage in order to ensure that they don't lose his objectives is the main reason why we see so much commit there.
NRG may end up losing maniaKK here, who's surrounded by 3, but no real panic from either team. The major focus was getting on the tier 1 tower. Faeles, meanwhile, trades out with adapting there in the jungle. It does cost him his ultimate, but adapting used his too, so it's not doom and gloom for either side.
Portal Demon is going to fall, so if Faeles had any idea of trying to back and make it through,
it's Camazotz.
It is Camazotz.
With Bumba's mask.
He's already pretty much full health.
He'll be fine. He can always find a pool on the floor somewhere to drink out of too if required. There's been a few kills on this game, but only 6 actually, 22 minutes. It's kind of an EU feel to this one.
But there's been a lot of engagements through these objectives.
Yes.
NRG has kind of fallen back on the previous 2, but aside from that, I'm a little bit surprised that there hasn't been more kills, considering how aggressive these 2 teams have been.
And look at this, the pressure that Valance have in mid lane there with 2 tanks on the front side. BigManTingz will be able to tank that up and just allow the Chronos to swing in. Funballer doing God's work, or at least Valance's work on that tier 1 tower. And he's just continued the objective focus.
And what I really like about Funballer is when he rushed that Book of the Dead, he didn't follow it up with a Hasten Ring or anything like that. He went for the Demonic Grip and then a Rada Tahuti afterwards. He's just looking for an all-in power spike. He doesn't really care about playing that standard Chronos ADC where he chases you down with his Faeles off of the Hasten Ring. He just wants to drop you as soon as he lands that stun.
Right-hand side now, you can see a bit of grouping from Valance Squadron here. You can see Lawbster's also on the way over too. BigManTingz through the jungle to cut off the option of NRG trying to set something up and just keep vision of what's going on. Now with the minions coming in, NRG have to try and defend here. Their wave play's not terrible with a Medusa and a Hell and a Bellona. Like, they can get away with defending this if they want to, but Valance are feeling very confident with the lead they have.
And for good reason. It's incredibly difficult for NRG to even try and defend. These structures are going to be falling super fast when it's a Chronos and an AMC attacking them.
Ducky in the mid lane, though, just going to try and keep at least 1 member of NRG busy, and that is Yammyn. And keeping Yammyn out of the fight isn't doom and gloom, because he's the one that could turn into one of these hyper carries that Valance Squad have.
But Yammyn kind of being left alone there to fend off the way from the T2 and mid. He is going to be looking to slide around the backside now. Morrigan
in a lot of trouble. maniaKK's already dead. Lawbster credited with a kill. Raffer's not been able to do too much, isn't it? So the pluck onto emilitoo is good. Yammyn in the back, though, will take out the bat, but emilitoo will be taken down by the monkey that is Ducky. Yammyn to the sky, looking for a double onto the crocodile. There's animals everywhere as per usual, but Yammyn's now surrounded by Ducky in the backside with the tiger form coming through. But Yammyn will escape for now as Funballer now goes a little bit too far forward. It'll cost him his beads, but the fight is going handily towards Valance for now.
Valance have got to keep in mind that there's still a T2 tower there, almost ready to fall. Yammyn still trying to find Ducky on the backside as Funballer's picking up adapting on the front, and Ducky instead turning it onto Yammyn. No Morrigan stealth today, instead just drops her.
Big plays for Valance Squadron there. This is huge for them, especially on the first week of the fall split. And Valance Squad have to take on 2-time world champions. Now granted, these 2-time world champions haven't looked as clean this year as they have previous years, but they are still world champs for now.
What's more impressive to me is that Valance are doing this off of the loss that they just received. I mean, it was a pretty one-sided game in their first game today against NRG. NRG just had complete control of the map the entire time, it felt like, and now it's just it's total 180.
Completely, and we'll see if this can continue on though, because we have seen NRG before come back from states like this where you're 25 minutes in and you're down a good 10k gold. NRG are a team that can bring themselves back into this. Generally what they look to do is split push and split the map a little bit more, but trying to do that against Valance Squad here, they're good at wave clearing multiple lanes. It's very tricky to try and do that.
I've also just got to say, Hell Support she's definitely made her debut in a number of support's hands, but
sure.
iRaffer's playstyle just doesn't really seem to fit her.
Not at the moment anyway, at least not in this game. He's not had an opportunity to really get involved too much. 7,000 healing. It's not nothing to ignore if you check it out. It's basically nullifying everything that Lawbster's doing so far this game. And there's not a ridiculous amount of anti-heal just yet, but it is coming through. You can see the Pestilence for Sobek, and at the same time Camazotz with the Brawler's Beat Stick, and of course the Ankh on Ducky, but it's not an insane amount that we would expect to see against the Hell, because it's not making as much of an impact as you'd expect.
I think that iRaffer is just more of that aggressive support playstyle, and with the Hell, you have to be a little bit more passive, and I don't think that has really suited NRG in this draft, so to say, but Yammyn has had a couple of standout plays where he's been able to find those very clutch backsided stealth maneuvers, and that's the main thing to keep an eye out for if I'm Valance, in my opinion, because Morrigan can 100-0 somebody.
Well, Funballer, BigManTingz, and Lawbster all here, and BigManTingz is going to keep these minions alive. I know there's minions with him, but keep them alive to shred the tower a little bit quicker. It makes life very, very simple for them to take a tier 2. They're going to swing towards mid lane, where good old Ducky's standing by in the Sun Wukong to help them there too. So all the towers for NRG are now on the floor, just like game 1, but in reverse.
And only one lane hasn't been pushed up, and that's the solo lane side, or the right-hand side for NRG, which is actually going to be in NRG's favor, because they won't have to worry about Valance potentially splitting into the 3 lanes, especially since they have the AMC and the Chronos. Still have to keep in mind, I would probably try to defend whatever lane that Funballer is in, because Chronos probably has one of the best tower shred capabilities in this game.
Yeah, try to keep the pressure on Valance. We're pushing in the mid lane there with Funball too, but all eyes are on BigManTingz, keeping out for the blink or the pluck, or a combination of both of them onto any single target. He'd love iRaffer if he can get there. Lawbster is disarmed early on, trying to slow down the amount of damage AMC can put on to that Phoenix. And this Bellona pick is very good against double Hunter comps. Obviously, Chronos being classed as a Hunter for at least objective shred, but look at where Yammyn is slightly out of position. AMC is going to turn up to the party, but he has stealth.
Ducky didn't even wince at that potential damage from iRaffer on the Hell. He's just so far ahead, level 20 already, trying to tank up this Phoenix for his team. And the Phoenix is getting chipped away at pretty nicely by Valance.
Eagles rally coming out there from maniaKK, putting some pressure on for a second, forcing Faeles back, and Faeles walks right into Yammyn, who turns into a bat himself. He's looking towards Funballer, but the Aegis will buy him a moment's notice. BigManTingz with a nice blink to disrupt Yammyn and force him back to his team. And emilitoo, though, is looking to clean up Ducky, and he's adapting. They'll get credit for the kill there on the front side as Adapting's beatdown is ongoing. BigManTingz was looking for a pluck soon after, but won't find it. But look at the health bars, getting very, very low on energy, and the Fire Giant still on 3 members of Valance.
But look, he's ready to rejoin the fight. Funballer opting to use his ultimate instead. Seemed as though he might have been worried about Yammyn trying to drop him on that Morrigan. Securing the left-hand Phoenix, though, is the best Phoenix for Valance to put down already. So they're not going to have to worry about NRG trying to contest the Fire Giant any longer, at least.
Well, I mean, they can contest it, but it makes it much more tricky to deal with. Maybe a 4v5 at best case scenario, or worst case scenario, you let him beat onto the Titan a little bit and take a bit of free Titan damage to try and hold on to this Fire Giant and contest it a little bit better. But if you push the lane out first of all, it will buy you a moment's notice.
I just don't feel like NRG would be comfortable in trying to contest that Fire Giant, knowing how much damage output Lawbster and Funballer are able to provide onto objectives right now, especially a Fire Giant. And so they're probably safer looking to defend their Phoenixes. They almost won that team fight pretty clean. It was just that Yammyn couldn't find another lockdown kill after his first one.
But it's kind of turn around his fair play from game 1 to game 2 here, because the carries for Valance Squadron are in the top 4 this time round, whereas the energy carries slipping further down, just below the 2 supports here, not being able to make as much of an impact as they did in game 1.
And again, that's kind of just expected when you look at the draft from Valance this time around. Just so much more pressure, a lot more follow-up, and it's just been really clean from them.
Blink's in for everybody here on this fight, but already Faeles is in trouble and Faeles is dead. emilitoo gets credit for the kills. Yammyn turns towards the back to look to help out pressure onto Funballer, but Ducky's already taken down Adapted and Raff on the run. Lawbster now turns to the fray to slow them all down a little bit as Ducky's eagle form will allow him to continue the chase and get the slow on Raffer too. Raffer trapped in a pit and eventually he'll fall down. maniaKK a little bit too late to the fray. No ultimate available for him to try and slow down the pressure onto Raffer, and Yammyn's just trying to cause a distraction, but Yammyn could be in trouble too.
Oh, he's not going to be able to get away. The stinger from Lawbster was so much damage, and Funballer is going to get credit for the kill, but with 3 members dead from NRG, nobody left to try and contest this Fire Giant, and it will be free yet again. They might potentially wait for Faeles to receive the buff, considering that no one from NRG is trying to contest him.
Yeah, they seem to be holding a good call there, Tacos. Very smart to do this. It's not something I'd advise in your ranked games or your low-level games for sure, even your casuals, but when you've got a 5-man team and you know there's no pressure, just hold it for a few more seconds. Give your whole team that Fire Giant.
No reason not to, considering how close he was to spawning, but Faeles really has just been taking the brunt of this damage. Absolutely beat down every single time once the fights break out. Should probably be a little bit more careful with his positioning, but it's also difficult for him to try and do so, considering that on Camazotz, he's really the primary initiation factor for Valance if it's not Tingz going in.
Well, Valance were known as Enix during the summer split too, and they did stick together going into the fall split here. And they're looking strong. Their first split together, it seemed like they were kind of learning each other out, working out what's good, what's bad for them. But it seems to be coming together a little bit more here, Taco, as you can see, like bringing things out like AMC and Chronos together. You have to have a front line that's trusting in each other, as well as the back line has to trust in them too.
They weren't able to find as much success in the previous split as a lot of people might have been anticipating or hoping for, even themselves. But realistically speaking, these are still 5 incredibly adept players at the game in each of their roles respectively, so there is more than enough potential on this team to strive.
Well, the Phoenix won't strive for much longer on the left-hand side. Already weakened with fire minions there. Energy do give up the goose and trying to defend it too difficult there as well. Yammyn, meanwhile, clearing out mid and trying to cause a distraction. You saw the last team fight on that left-hand side. The Yammyn swinging around the back caused so many problems for Valance. They've got to keep better track of where this Morrigan is.
And I think that's the primary target for them now. I think they might look to bait a fight just so Yammyn exposes himself looking for a kill, but he's going to have a little bit more difficulties trying to breach into that backside. Funballer with that ultimate makes him an incredibly difficult target to look at. It's really just Lawbster or Faeles.
All Lawbster or Faeles, but Tingz in the front line with this blink. Every single time Tingz has been the one really looking to engage and allowing Ducky just to swing for the houses on the backside here. They wait for a minion wave, however, more than likely, unless Tingz feels like it's go time, and it looks like it might be for a moment, but a new minion wave comes through. Lawbster and Funballer grouped a little bit too close together there for my liking. Bit dangerous to do that with 2 carries.
maniaKK, though, already falling pretty low. I guess it won't be as much of an issue considering that there is a hell involved, and Yammyn trying to establish the ward dominance isn't going to make too much of a difference, and now it looks as though Valance are ready to go in.
Yeah, the ultimate down from emilitoo already, and now Funballer's in a bit of trouble as the Eagles rally follows it up, but the Aegis will buy him a moment's notice. Next on the list is Into the Sky. You saw Funballer actually going to fall down to Adapting there, so one of the carries down, but Lawbster's going to trade out maniaKK, and with fire minions now starting to pour down the left-hand side, this is trouble for Energy.
I think that this might be where NRG's Titan falls, but just to make sure, Valance are wrapping around to this right-hand side, looking to secure this final Phoenix. Both the waves in mid and left lane are pushed up, so it will be difficult for NRG to keep trying to fend off Valance from their final standing Phoenix.
I think this is the first time I've really seen this health support not really bringing enough to the table to warrant its pick so far. Valance Squadron may have had an answer to it, at least for this game. The Phoenix on the right-hand side, and potentially the final Phoenix of the game will fall down here as now Valance turn towards mid once more with 5 minions left, middle, and now eventually right. This could be the end.
This is just a full commit onto the Titan. They're trying to lock out Lawbster and make sure that he doesn't really break through, but it does not matter. Lawbster not only taking out emilitoo pretty cleanly there, but the Titan as well, and Valance with an excellent response from game number 1.
We get a split in game 2. Valance and NRG, they did split during the summer, so if you were following along, you may have been like, well, that was kind of expected, but realistically, I expected a little bit more from NRG here, especially like after the season they've had.
Especially after the first game, it looked
That's
as though
true.
they might have had a little bit more up their sleeve. Maybe they're not ready to reveal it just yet. Instead, they're going to hold the L from Valance on the rebound.
Well, Lawbster picked AMC in the mid lane, and AMC did some work this game.
And AMC was actually popping off. He had that one death at the start, and that was pretty much it.
Classic AMC death, though, right?
It was the classic AMC death, just trying to see if he could get away with those mid-harpies, and the answer was no. But after that, his positioning was fairly on point, just trying his best to avoid maniaKK unless the rest of his team was surrounding him.
And he's one of those threats that you can't really ban out an AMC, can you? I mean, realistically, can you really ban AMC in this meta?
I don't think anybody would ever ban AMC. There's not really much reason to warrant doing so. It's just that Lawbster was able to get this hyper carry up and running due to the assistance from his team, and they just worked as one cohesive unit. That's really made it all come together.
Really, really good work there from those boys. And now that's 2 sets down so far. Obey finding the 2-0 over Pappies. And then we just saw the split between Valance and NRG. We're going to go over, though, and have a little look at the caster. We'll be back after this.